Well, hi there, second graders. Time to put on our thinking caps today. We're going to do a little bit of math. Now, your teacher tells me you're doing real well in this geometry section of the math book. And so today what we're going to look at is lesson 11.3. Build three-dimensional shapes. Now, it's on page 717 in your math workbook. And as you look at the pictures there on that page, it's asking you to circle the shapes with a curved surface. Now, for example, this surface is curved. On the other hand, this box has flat surfaces. There's no curve at all to this. It's very square or rectangular in shape, no roundness to it at all. So when you look at those 5 different pictures there, you see a cone, you see a cube, you see a rectangular prism, a sphere, and a cylinder. Those are the correct labels for each one of those images. And it should be pretty easy to look at those and say which ones have curves and which ones don't. Circle the shapes that have the curved surfaces. Now, this lesson is kind of interesting. And what it's introducing you to is something that you'll learn about later that's called volume. It's the amount of something inside an object that has 3 dimensions. Now, let's real quick talk about what 3-dimension means. We know that when we look at things, if I looked at this just like that, it's a square. Sides are all the same length. It has a length and it has a height. So there's this dimension and then there's this dimension. This is 2-dimensional. 1 dimension, 2 dimension. Now when we talk about 3-dimension, that same square then takes on an additional dimension. And now it's become a cube. Each side has the same dimension. Now, we still have the length right here, and we still have the height right here, but we also now have the width, the depth of it. So, 3-dimensional objects have depth. It's like when you go to the movie theater and you watch the movie either regular or you get the glasses and you watch it in 3D. And in 3D, the stuff is flying all around you. All of a sudden, there's some depth. So that's the difference between 2D and 3D. All 3-dimensional objects have 3 dimensions: length, width, and height. Now, within this example on the board here of this cube, remember each dimension, regardless of what side dimension we're looking at, those dimensions are all the same. And it's a cube defined because of that. If one dimension was greater than the other dimensions, then it would be a rectangular prism. That's the difference between a flat rectangle, which is just 2 dimensions, and one that has depth, and we call that a rectangular prism. So again, being firm with your vocabulary so that you know what the differences are between those images. Now, let's take a look at what kind of craziness they're throwing at us here. On page 718, it says, build this rectangular prism using 12 unit cubes. And what you see there is a picture that looks like this. And this is going to be the basis of all of the rest of this lesson. Now you notice that we have 3 dimensions. And its front is cut into 4. And we're going to continue those lines right along. The side has 3. So we're going to connect all them lines together. And then what we end up having is a stack of blocks. And those blocks, each one of those blocks looks just like this. Each one of these is one of these. So there are 2 of them here. 1, 2. And going up, there are 2 of them here. And along this dimension, there are 1, 2, 3. Now, it says build this rectangular prism using 12 unit cubes. Are there 12 of them there? Well, let's count them. In this row, and this row would look like this. If I drew that row, it would look just like this. This row right here, and there's 1, 2, 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. And then on this side of it is another one of these. So let's keep adding them together. We got 3 plus 3. And then we go up on the second story of this picture, and here's another one of these. So there's another 3. And then there's one right next to it as well. So there's another 3. There are 3 of these cubic blocks. 1, 2, 3. So we add that all together. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12. So yeah, there are 12 cubic units, or 12 units that are cubes that make up that image. Now, in a roundabout way, they're teaching you about volume, because that's what this is really all about. How many of these cubic units are in each one of these images? Now we're gonna challenge our ability to think about what this is over the next couple of pages here. What you see underneath that 12 unit cube is shading in the blocks. So the left image there, the top view, that's the 3 rows that are on top. And the front view is those 4 units that you see in the front. So what that picture is actually depicting to you is this. And how many are in this one? 3. And this. It's giving you those 2 parts of that shape that you see on top. And they're going to ask you to do that now as we go through these. Now we know it's 12 because remember when we drew it out and actually finished this, we could see that there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That there were 12 of those cubes inside of that picture. They're really working on your brain and this stuff here. And once you get it, then it'll be real easy. So let's look what it's asking us to do on 718 now. The first one is saying, build a rectangular prism with the given number of unit cubes. So it gives you a top and a front view. So let's do that here. Let's top and front. And for the top view, they're showing a picture that is broken into how many units? Looks to me like 4, 8, 12. And then the front view is exactly the same. So it's another 12. And it's asking you to shade in, just like the example above it. Shade it in where you're using 9 cubic units. So, how are you going to do that? How are you going to figure it out? Well, you've got to put them, and if you had those little square blocks, and you took 9 of them, and you stacked them in a nice little rectangular prism, it would be real easy for you. But here you got to kind of picture it in your head. So, we know that if we're going to have 9, that we got to have 3 is one of our numbers. So if we took on here 3 of those blocks, so we can shade in 3. So far, we know we have 3 blocks, right? You see them? 1, 2, 3. That's what we've done there. Now, we can leave that at the top, and if that's the top of this picture, in order to have 9 of those, then the front of this picture needs 2 more rows of these. Now you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see how you stacked up your blocks and you got 9. So the top would have 3. This is the top. And the front would have 9. So you would shade in just like that. This front is this front, this top is this top. Now, you could have done it just the opposite too. You could have done the 9 on top, and then your box would have looked like this. It would have been a lot longer because you would have had to have ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of those cubic blocks. So you can either be laying down or be standing up. Either way, it's got 9 blocks. Now, probably the easiest thing for you to do is kind of do like I just did and draw them. That might make it a little easier for you to see it. And if you're having trouble drawing them, maybe your mom or dad can help you draw, because it's always a little harder to draw things in 3 dimensions. It's easy to draw things that are flat and only have 2 dimensions, but when you add that 3rd dimension, it takes a little more practice at drawing. But you just keep trying and you'll get it. I mean, look at me, after all. Even I figured it out, right? Now the next one says it wants 16 units. And it gives you the same number of boxes there. And you got to figure out 16 units. So right away, I think to myself, 8 plus 8 is 16. So if I used 8 of these blocks, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I use 8 of those, for my top, and then I would have to use 2 of them because that would be 8, and I'd need it to be too high, so I would be shading in that part for the front. So this box, if I drew it, would look like this. I would have those 4 units on the front, and then I would have to go 4 in this direction as well. So we're just going to draw this all in, and this is 4 blocks here. So we draw and connect our lines. Now, this is the front. You see the 4 blocks on the front, and then the top is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if we count how many blocks are in this picture, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that takes care of that. And if there are 8 there, then there's going to be 8 over here too. 4 going back this way, 4 going across the top. So we end up with 8 plus 8, and that will equal our 16 blocks. This is one of those kind of lessons where, you know, when the light goes on, it will all make sense to you. There are easier, I believe, easier ways to teach this concept, but we got to follow the way the book progresses you along through it. Now, on the next page, it asks you to do the same thing with 24. So you'd have to have 24 cubes. And the way I would do that, we got a top view and a front view. And on the top view, I would make this my top view. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got 8 blocks on top. And in order to make that 24, we would need 8 plus 8, that's 16, plus 8 is 24, which means the front has to be 3 blocks high. Now, if we drew this, here's our front. You with me so far? And here's our top. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Our front view is going to be, yeah, I'm not getting this right. Let me correct myself here. That would not have given us 24. So we know the top. Let's just do this. Let's draw the top. All right, there's our top. Now we got to figure out the rest of our pile of blocks here. That's going to make this 24. So we need at least 3 rows I could draw that a little better. Now, when we connect all our lines together, now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's another 4, and there's another 4. So 4, 8, 12. On this side, we've got 12. And then on the next row behind it, we have another 12. And that 12 plus 12 equals 24. Looking at number 4, they've drawn it in for you. They've shown you what the shaded parts are, and they've even added the 3rd dimension on some of these. Number 4, they've added all 3 dimensions. So it's saying, let's look at number 4. The front view has 5 going across and 2 going up. So it's 2 high, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see how the shaded blocks? Now, it says the side view shows, remember the side, shows 3. Two high and 3 across. The top view should just fit right into that now. The top view is going to be the 5 here, and that's what you end up with, a pile of blocks that looks like that. If you took those 3 shaded areas and actually made it into a picture. So now we got to count how many blocks there are. So let's start with the top row. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So there's 15 blocks in this row. And that means in this row here, there's going to be 15 blocks as well, because it's exactly the same. And 15 plus 15 equals 30. And that's how many unit cubes are in that picture. Now the next one, problem number 5, they don't give you all 3 sides. But it doesn't matter. As long as you've got 2 of them, you can still build the picture. And the front view, I always build the front view first, because that's what I'm looking straight at, and then I can build my side and top off of that. And the front view is 2 high and 3 across. All right? Now it says the top view, obviously it's going to be 3, but it goes back 3. So this is going to be divided into 3 as well as like that. So now all we got to do is finish our drawing and add all the lines, connect them all together. You see how we build a stack of blocks just like that? How easy it is? And then we'll count them. So here's on the top row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 on the top row, and because the bottom row is exactly the same, there's going to be 9 there. So that means there are 18 unit cubes in that. I hope this is starting to make some sense to you. It really is helpful if you are able to draw. On 720, the next page, they've done that for you. They've shown you what it looks like when you've actually had it drawn out. And then it's asking you on number 6, Thomas built this rectangular prism. How many unit cubes did he use? Well, you just got to count them. So there are 6 in each layer going up that. 2 across, 3 back. So there's 3 in the first row, 3 next to it, so there's 6. And it goes up 4 rows. So 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. 6 added 4 times. So 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18, plus 6 more is 24. So the answer to number 6 is 24 unit cubes. Number 8. I like number 8. It even stumped me for a second. Tyler built this rectangular prism using unit cubes. And you see it there next to the word problem. Then he took it apart. In other words, he took all them blocks and he built 2 different rectangular prisms. But he only had so many blocks. Which 2 of the 3 that are listed below there equaled the total that came out of the original block? So the first thing you have to do here, kids, is you got to figure out how many blocks are in that first one. And you can see that there are 3 layers going up. It goes back 3 deep, and it's 3 across. So in each one of those layers, there's 3, 6, 9. There are 9 blocks in each layer. So 9 plus 9 plus 9. 3 layers. 9 plus 9 is 18, plus 9 more is 27. So you know your magic number in problem number 8 is 27. So now 2 of those images below, when added together, are going to equal 27. Look at those 3 images. Count how many cubic units are in each one of them, and then figure out which 2, when added together, equals 27. I'm going to let you figure that out on your own. I've given you the biggest clue ever on how to find it, okay? Well, that's our lesson for today, 11.3. Building 3-dimensional shapes. You have homework on page 721 and 722 where you get to practice. They even help you practice drawing 3-dimensional shapes. Lesson 11.4 we're going to do next, and that's 2-dimensional shapes. And you remember the difference between 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional are the number of dimensions. 2-dimensional has a length and a height. 3-dimensional has a length, a height, and a width. So there's 1, 2, 3 dimensions, 1, 2. So this is two-dimensional, this is three-dimensional. That's easy. I think you understand that pretty well. That's your lesson for today, kids. Thanks for hanging with me as we work through that one. You all take care of yourselves, of course. Stay safe and be kind to people. We'll see you on the next lesson.